Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be building a quadcopter, and this one in theory should be an absolute beast and will be going up for sale after it's finished, just to support the channel. After I tune it, make sure everything runs beautiful, and build it to my own personal specifications. So let's talk about the components that we're going to be using, because we're going to be using pretty good components here. Now we're going to be using the GepRC LX5 frame for the build here, and this frame is a beast. I already have two of them, and this thing can take an absolute beating. Flight characteristics, very nice, a bit heavy, but it's a freestyle frame that could take a beating with camera protection. So that's for frame. For flight controller, ESC, and PDB, we're going to be using the Racerstar Star F4S, and I found this to be the best of, all-in-ones with everything in it. It's just insanely good. I have it on a couple quads, and some of them are my favorite quads because it's so reliable and it's so good. So that's what we're going to be using for ESCs and the flight controller and the OSD and the PDB. It's just in one package, which is pretty awesome. And it'll keep the overall stack very clean. For VTX, I'm going to use the Matek VTX. I really love this VTX. I love the fact that it's stackable and just has a bunch of features. So this is what I'm going to be using for VTX. And for receiver, I'm going to be using the XSR or the X4R. I forgot which one this one is. But yeah, we're going to be using that. And if you need, a Fly Sky receiver or something, if you want to purchase this, I can go ahead and do that for you also. So it's not a problem there. And for motors, we're going to be using the Brotherhobby. I think these are the Deadpool edition. I don't really remember. But these are brand new, the R5s. These are 2306, 2450 kV. These are going to be monsters. These are still brand new, and I have never used them before. So, enough talking, and let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and grab the flight controller here. And what we want to do is remove the heat shrink, but keep this in with you because sometimes the writing where the pads are very difficult to read, and you don't want to lose it basically. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove this, and we're going to start preparing the pads first. We're going to do the motors, and we're going to do these pads up here first. So let's go ahead and get started on that. And the next steps is what we're going to leave the motors for last. So what we will do next is we'll install the camera wires, VTX wires, and the transmitter wires. So those are the things we're going to be doing. First, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the motor pads here. Just add a little solder here and there. Make sure the tip is clean. Alright. Make sure you guys can see everything also. Alright, beautiful. You want to be careful not to hit the MOSFETs because, these pads are right next to the MOSFETs. And, yeah, you don't want to hit that. So, let's go ahead and flip it like this since I'm right-handed. No need to make things more difficult on myself. So yeah, this guy is going to be up for sale after I test him and I make sure he runs very well. However, we're going to have snow for this whole week, so I don't have no idea when I'm going to take him out. But what I can do, if I get just sick of waiting, we can go ahead and conformal coat this and make this into a waterproof build, which should be pretty insane actually. Alright, so let's go ahead and prepare these pads also now. Alright, so we bridged a couple. There we go. And let's do this side also. Alright. So let's go ahead and just double check we did not bridge anything else. Yep, everything looks nice. Alright, okay. So now let's go ahead and grab our camera wires, and we're going to start with the camera wires. I think let's just take a look here. Alright, so what do we have? These are the buzzers. This is a 5-volt video out, ground, video in. So video in and ground, that's what we're going to do now. Video in and ground right there. So let's go ahead and grab our camera wires here. Alright, so we've gone ahead and grabbed the camera wires. I already have them prepared. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim some off here so we can install them, because these are very tiny pads, and this is the only issue with this board. is for new people, this might be a bit difficult to solder. So yeah, just that's the only real downside. So we need video in, which is that first one right there. So let's go ahead and install this right here. And I'm going to go ahead and trim up a little bit more here. All right, there we go. And I highly recommend not to use the same soldering tip as mine, just because, you know, this is not meant for such a tiny job like this. Okay, so we got our video in. This is the video in from the camera, and the next one was ground. So let's go ahead and ground this guy. All right. Very nice. So that's in, and we're gonna need 5 volts. So let's just take a look here. This is for the receiver, and 5 volts. I think is that one right there. Yeah, here it is. It's this one. Third one from the bottom is the 5 volts. So let's go ahead and install this guy right here. All right, so we got our camera in. So that was very easy and fast and efficient. So I really like to install the motors. I mean, not the motors. I like to keep the motors for last nowadays. Just to install the wires and get them out of the way first seems to always be the best and easiest route. So S-Bus is all the way right down here. Now here's something. This is an F4 flight controller. So if you put iBus there, it will not work. What you will have to do is, there is an RX port right there. Let me show you with the thingy. All right. So there's an RX6 right there. That's where you want to put your iBus, right there. And just power it off from here. You got your ground and your 5 volt. And then you put your iBus port on the RX6. And then in the Betaflight, you would enable UART6 as your iBus protocol. So take that into consideration. Some people do kind of ask me a lot about this. How do I get iBus to work? And it's just that simple. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up S-Bus right there. So let's go ahead and set that up. Make sure the tip is clean. Okay, so there's S-Bus, and then we have 5 volt, which is the red wire. Which is the next one on the list right there. Seems a bit sketchy. Maybe I should redo that wire. We'll see how it plays out. Okay. Played out beautiful. And then now let's just do ground, which is right there. Okay. So now we have our transmitter, and now we have our camera, and all we need is the VTX here and motor wires, and we're done. It's insanely easy and it's insanely fast. So let's take a look at the VTX here. So I already have some power wires connected, as you can see. These are going to be for power, these two, and this takes 7 to 27 volts. So we're going to power it off from here. And if you take a look here, we have the video, which is this yellow wire. And I'm going to go ahead and grab another wire because, you know, since we have the OSD, why don't we just control it through the OSD also? So let's just do that as well. So let's go ahead and prepare a wire here. And what you want to do is we want to set it up on the TX right there, right above the video. So we'll be able to control the VTX here. All right. So I'm just going to prepare the wire here for us. Alright, very nice. Alright, let's just stick this guy in. Make sure the tip is clean. Always make sure the tip is clean. Alright. So now we have Betaflight OSC to control the Matek here. Alright, very nice. So let's just prepare this other end of the wire here. Because this will go where your iBus would go on that UART, but we're not going to put it on RX6. We're going to install it on TX6, and I'll show you that in a bit right now. Alright, so let's just make sure all the wires will reach. their designated places. Yeah, it's long enough for everything. So that's very good. Okay, all right, let's take a look at the board now. Now, as you can see, I can see video out, and then that's ground. So we have a video out and a ground right there in the middle of these two. So we're gonna go ahead and set those up. So video out will be the yellow wire here, which is this one. But what I wanna do is I wanna add a little solder to the ground pad right here, because I guess I didn't hit it very well. There we go. All right, so let's just start with the video out, which is the yellow wire from our VTX. That's where it'll go. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. And now what we need the ground. So let's grab the ground for our VTX here. Okay. Perfect. So now we have ground and video out connected to our VTX. Great. So now we have a positive wire left over, which we're going to set it up to the battery's positive. And we have this green one, which should enable us to control the VTX through the Betaflight OSD, which is a very nice feature, and I want to take advantage of. So let's see how we're going to do this. Now, if you're running iBus, like I mentioned earlier, you won't be able to do that, because you're going to use that UART6 for the iBus. However, we're using SBus, so we'll be able to do that. So as you can see, you have RX6 and TX6 right here, right there. You see those? There's RX6 and then there's TX6. Now, iBus would have went on RX6, but for us to control the VTX, we're gonna have to go to TX6, which is that pad right there. It's a very small, very tiny little place. So let's go ahead and do this very gently and very nicely. So everything's kind of far away from me, so I'm a little bit afraid. To pick the best place to put it right next to the flight control, so you bridge a couple pins. Fucking Racerstar. Okay. So that's somewhat good now. So let's go ahead and install this guy. It's very difficult, so just be very careful. And if I had a smaller tip on my soldering iron, it'd be a lot easier for me. But I just don't want to wait for it to cool down and I'll go through all that stuff. There we go. That's it. Installed. So what do we have left here to do? We just have our, let's just route these wires correctly here. Alright. So now all we got to do is just install power, which we're going to install right there. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm thinking if I should install a low ESR capacitor or not just yet, but I really don't know. By the way, Racerstar has the battery wires pre-installed now, so that's very good. There we go. And we should be done now. Now we place it in, install our motors, and see if everything works. Oh no, let's go ahead and do the Xt60 connector here. We'll figure out how long we're going to need those in a bit. So let's go ahead and install this on the frame and seeing how well this is going to go. So as you can tell here, I soft mounted them, so I don't risk. All right, beautiful. Okay, very nice. Now let's go ahead and grab some of these standoffs. And since the frame has a slant on the back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the VTX in the front here. So we're going to see how tight we want those later on. Okay, I think that's going to be good. Alright, so let's go ahead and install this guy. Just like that. Let's grab our nuts here. These nuts are a bit annoying sometimes until they catch correctly. Alright, so there we go. We got one nut barely in. We'll come back and revisit those later, or I'll just do that after the video. But right now, let's just try to get this out of the way. Okay. Alright, so everything's installed now. We're going to need more nuts here. And now let's go ahead and bring in the motors and start installing them. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to go ahead and stick them on the frame. And then we're going to install the motors and take it from there. Alright guys, so the motors are installed. Now let's go ahead and do 2 motors together. So let's just see how much slack we need. I think right about here is going to be good for this one. So let's go ahead and cut this guy. Alright. And try not to strip it too much because the pads are a bit small. Alright, make sure you twist these guys. And the orientation doesn't really matter because we can switch it in Betaflight. That's just been super stable lately. I've never had any issues lately with this. Just switching, reversing the motor in Betaflight. So let's go ahead and install this one. Alright, we got our first motor wire installed here. Let's do the second one. And right about here is going to be good. Okay. Try to twist it as much as you can. I know it might be too difficult if you're following along, but you know, just at least one twist or something. It's better than nothing. Alright, make sure the tip is clean. Let's grab this guy. Let's do it proper this time. Alright, so there you go. Beautiful crunching sound. Nice. This one was better than the one previous. The wire before it. Now let's do this guy. Here. Alright, about here is going to be good. And I'm going to skip the other motors just because it's going to be the same process. So we're just going to do this one and then we'll see what's the next step after I finish the other motors. Alright, always make sure the tip is clean as possible. Alright, there we go. Very nice. So let's just take a look here. Looks very, very good and awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over the rest of the motors. We'll come back and then we'll see what's the next step. Alright guys, so the motors are in place now. So let's go ahead and see what's the next step. So basically I've done soldering everything really. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to install the camera here. So let's go ahead and do that just to get an idea. And what I want to do is I'm going to use double-sided tape to hold the receiver in place here. And should be pretty good. Just find the double-sided tape. Alright, so I've gone ahead and found some double-sided tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually install this backwards. Well, not backwards, I mean like this way. So we also have the access to the bind button always available for us for any reason. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So let's see which way do I want it. I want it on this end here. Alright. So this one should be pretty nice clean build right now. After we put this on, we'll see how it all came out to be. Alright. There we go. Right there. Perfect. Okay, so that's good. And now let's go ahead and install this guy. Beautiful. Perfect. Alright, what's left now? Alright, so let's just see if everything will fit. Everything fit perfect. Let's just route the antennas here. We're gonna route these antennas up a little bit here. All right, and we're gonna grab this guy, and we're gonna install him. Now this one, I'm gonna go ahead and test it out without a low ASR capacitor, and then based upon the test result is when I'll know to add a low ASR capacitor or not to this setup here. Alrighty. So, wow, that's just insanely clean. So yeah, we're basically done. So all I gotta do is just tighten these screws down here and add some nuts right there for the flight controller, and we'll take one last look at it. But pretty much we are basically completely done here. Then we'll boot it up, see if everything works, and go over everything. Alright guys, so he is complete and looking insanely beautiful. He looks pretty evil for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's these guys right here, but it just looks absolutely phenomenal. Look how clean the stack is right there. It is soft mounted, so it's just going to be insanely beautiful. We're using the port right there for the SMA, and I think this is an SMA port right here. And overall, you know, this thing just looks like a beauty, and hopefully in theory it should perform like an absolute beast, that's for sure. So we're gonna have to wait until the snow goes away. It's gonna be around maybe a week, but I'm gonna try to get it out earlier. Yesterday I had luck with the weather, that's why I was able to fly the Frog Light. But overall, I mean, I should also be getting my 3-axis gimbal to test these quads, so we could also even just test them out stationary and seeing how well all the components did together. So overall, this guy is it's just beautiful, really. It looks insane. It's so shiny. The carbon's good. This thing is going to take a beating. So let's go ahead and check its weight. All right. 317 grams. That's pretty good, actually. That's very good. Very, very good for such a fat frame right here. 317 grams. That's just awesome. So overall, it came out very nice. Very clean. As you can tell, it's just a 2-stack in there. And we have our receiver back here, and we have the camera, and all the components here are well tested, except the motors. I've never tested these before, but I'm sure they're going to be absolutely phenomenal. They're the Brotherhobby R5. I love Brotherhobby motors. They are the 2306 2450 kV, so they're just going to be some monster ass motors here. And well, that's it, guys. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please consider joining my Patreon, helping the mission, help me document everything out there. And you can also use the affiliate links down below. Those greatly support the channel. And if you guys have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to let me know. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. See you guys. Take care.